Henrik Tjärnström, CEO, and Patrick Kortman, Director, Corporate Development and Investor Relations. Dutch market access is in place and the strategic execution continues. Henrik, can you elaborate a bit on the Q2 performance and the main drivers behind?
Yes, Q2 was quite similar to our last couple of quarters. We've clearly been up against tough comps now for the last 3 quarters, not being present in the Netherlands, but also the COVID normalization of last year and also the Euro Championship in Q2 and Q3 last year. It's clearly made comps quite tough. But despite that, we've been good underlying performance, and especially as you say now, being live in the Netherlands from Q3 onwards, it marks an important milestone for us.
And Patrick, if we look more closely at the different regions, the Nordic region continues to perform well. What's driving that performance, and can we expect this positive trend to continue?
Yeah, it's we had good performance now for a good few quarters in the Nordics. It's we had it was broadly flat against last year, which I consider being a very strong performance given the very tough comparatives that we had from, for instance, the Euros impacting, where we had 3 of our Nordic countries participating in the Euro event itself last year. But take from a product perspective, sportsbook, as I just mentioned there, that was obviously heavily impacted by tough comparatives, but that was well compensated for by a continued strong development in casino products. And if you take them from a more market perspective, pointing out Sweden, we grew by 9% year over year, about 40% actually in casino. And here we're clearly helped by the lifting of the COVID restrictions, which happened in November last year. So we do expect to have some easier comps ahead of us also in that regard. Denmark performed also strong with 10% up on casino products. So yeah, that's a mixed bag with good performance across the board, really.
Yeah, pleasing to hear. And let's continue with Kindred's most recently locally regulated market, the Netherlands. Henrik, Kindred went live the 4th of July.
Yeah.
Can you say something about the performance the first couple of weeks and what you vision going forward?
Yeah, as normal in these kind of launches, we go relatively soft in the first couple of days, just finding out if there's any teething issues and solving them, and then gradually increasing our sort of marketing presence. And that's the same we've done in the Netherlands now as well. So really starting from 0 on the 4th of July and then gradually ramping up. And for the period from the 4th to the 19th, for those 16 days, we saw on average 150,000 pounds of gross winnings revenue per day. And that is, of course, from 0 in the beginning to higher numbers towards the end of that period. And then it's been continuing since then as well, which is expected as well. We set our ambitions to be back to be a top 3 operator towards the end of the year. And then, of course, we need to continue that trend. But we're beating our own expectations so far, and we're really seeing positive numbers coming from the Netherlands. So it will be really exciting to follow the next months and quarters to see what the comeback will be for us in the Netherlands.
Yeah, maybe I could add there, obviously, the strong start of a strong launch. We obviously do expect that we will be profitable already in the next couple of quarters. And as we have discussed earlier also, we actually came from a negative contribution in the Netherlands beforehand. So we have had around 3 million in negative contribution from the Netherlands while now being closed. But yeah, very promising start indeed.
Indeed, yes. A market where Kindred has been very successful is the UK market. At the moment, Kindred, like the wider industry, is suffering from short-term pressure from stricter affordability efforts. Henrik, can you share some color on this, and also perhaps some color on the new sustainability framework that Kindred has taken on?
Yeah, no, we highlighted in the report this morning that for the second quarter we saw a sort of a negative impact on gross winnings revenue level on around 12 million pounds for these further affordability measures that we have implemented already during the last 9 months or so, and we will implement further measures in the coming couple of quarters as well, which will have a further negative impact. But we've also been having negative effects in the last couple of quarters. The flip side of that coin, of course, is that we're having a more sustainable database and business, which is again in line with our long-term sustainability ambitions as well, to grow the business by number of actives rather than the average revenue per user, and that's what we're basically doing now in the UK as well. So we're again completely in line with the UK Gambling Commission's ambition to gambling should be for fun, and people should only gamble for money they can afford to lose. And on the share of revenues from high risk gambling, that is kind of around the group average in the UK market as well. So it's a positive contribution we're doing to the overall debate in the UK regarding that. So, and in the overall framework on sustainability, where we have a broad approach, and we're looking at that RG and the share of revenue from high risk gambling, and the improvements that we're seeing from customers that are flagged with our systems is sort of two key elements, but it's of course a lot more elements to that. And we have our Sustainability Gambling Conference coming up now this year in Amsterdam on 19th of October, so that is going to be an important event to highlight more the breadth of the work that we do within sustainability and contributing to societies. We mentioned today as well that in Netherlands we launched a Unibet Impact, which is again aligning to the ambitions of the Dutch authorities as well for safe gambling.
Yeah, sustainability is clearly a focus area for Kindred. And if we look at other focus area and strategic priorities, one is the development of the Kindred sportsbook platform, the KSP also known as. How is the development progressing when it comes to KSP, and what will be the main advantages of the KSP?
Yeah, as we mentioned, we've hit all development milestones so far this year, and we have, of course, a number of milestones still to be done in the year, but we're tracking in line with those as well. So it's been a conscious plan that we laid out over the last couple of years internally, and we're executing now sort of methodically on those different milestones. So we see good benefits coming from Kindred from a strategic point of view, that we see that we can adapt the offering more bespoke for our customers and create differentiation within sports. We also see that we will have a better sort of a connection between our commercial organization and our product organization, and be able to focus on exactly the footprint that we're present on. And it will be for us to define when and prioritize when we want things to be done. And of course, from a financial point of view, we have already highlighted we expect to see a sort of a financial benefit coming from these investments to our shareholders, and especially for future scalability will remain with the Kindred shareholders rather than shared with other third parties. And of course, for us to get an overall sort of umbrella for our sports betting, which has now been a bit scattered with separate business in France with our own trading on top of a third-party platform, and then we've done KRP, our racing platform ourselves, and then we've had other third-party that can be involved as well for the big part of the business. So it will be good for us from a strategic, financial, and also operational. We're confident that we have what it takes to do this, and we're tracking in line with that as well.
And another one, which is in our strategy to increase focus on product and customer experience, obviously Relax, a transaction which concluded in Q4 last year, and Relax is performing very well at the moment. As you could see from numbers that we reported this morning, total revenues for Relax reached 7.5 million, which was 25% sequential increase. And there are obviously many factors behind that it's impacting that development. But they during the quarter they released with 50 new operators. It was 6 new game launches, and they went live in 2 new markets like Italy and Spain. And on top of that, they also launched their the jackpot feature, Dream Drop. So many things that fueling that growth, and we have strong expectations also for that growth to continue over the coming quarters and years.
That's really great to hear. And speaking of strategic priorities, one is North America for Kindred. During Q2, Kindred launched in Ontario, Canada.
Yeah.
How would you say Kindred's North American expansion is progressing?
So North America is an important long-term opportunity for Kindred, and at the moment we are investing predominantly in states where multi-product states where both sports betting and iGaming or casino are live. an important element here in accelerating this growth will be the launch of our proprietary platform. And subject to regulatory approval, we expect to go live in New Jersey now during Q3. Overall, North America, we reached 7.2 million in GWR during the quarter. And we had the US states which showed a growth now after a few quarters of negative development. We will return back to a growth path. So with reported growth of 13% and in constant currency that was around 1%. And it was clearly the sports betting side which fueled that growth.
Yeah, thank you very much for clarifying that. And finally, looking into the rest of 2022, Henrik, can you say a few words about Kindred's trading update and what lies ahead?
Yeah, so we're back in the Netherlands, which is a major milestone. That's been a major milestone in our long-term transformation journey that we've been on for more than 10 years now. And that's fantastic because now we had 78% of our revenues coming from locally regulated markets, and we're expecting that number to quite quickly increase now and up towards over 80, and then north of that, of course, as well, approaching 90 in the coming quarters and years. So that's a key element, of course, to continue to execute in the Netherlands. We're also expecting the football season and the peak season of sports coming now a bit earlier this year as we're creating space for the World Cup that's happening in Q4 this year. So for the rest of this year, we're expecting a sort of a really good activity and business performance now coming for the rest, and really exciting times, both with the Netherlands, also as you say with the US, bringing our platform there will be key, and then we ramp up marketing there. And with Ontario we had some teething issues, but those have been rectified, and now gradually we're increasing marketing pressure there as well. So now really exciting times ahead, and now also really good that we're lapping sort of COVID numbers. Now we can stop talk about that, and also with the Netherlands situation as well. And from Q3 we'll be lapping more sort of easier comps in France and other markets. From Q4 it will be even easier in a sense, considering the Netherlands. So it should be a good end to the year.
A very interesting second half of the year ahead then. And also good to see that Kindred's strategic execution continues. Very interesting to see. Henrik and Patrick, thank you both very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.